Alright guys, welcome back to the TheCombustionGuys YouTube channel. Now today is blade day for the mowers. And so one thing we haven't covered, other than actually putting the blades on, doing the clean of the mowers, the maintenance, stuff like that. What we haven't shown you is how long do we use the blades, how do we make sure the blades are going to work correctly, and what are we looking for on the shop-ish side of the blade. So let's take a look at that back in the shop area. Alright guys, so we're back in the shop area. So here we go. This is a dull blade. So we've used this for quite a while. You might be able to see on the edge it's kind of rounded. See if we take a look from this angle. You might be able to see that edge there. It's always kind of hard, but basically there is no edge. It's not nice and sharp. Whereas this blade, you can see it's fairly pointy there. It's pretty good. It has a nice, fairly clean edge. Now, what are we looking for when we end up sharpening blades? Obviously, these are older blades, so what are we looking for? We're going to try and take this that we have right here. We're going to try and keep it this same overall length, so about a thumbnail width when we're sharpening it. And so what we're going to want is we're going to want this to look nice and clean like this. So obviously, depending on how your wheel is doing, that can look really clean or can look a little splotchy like this. So obviously using the wheel as long as you can to be able to get the majority of your money out of it. Now what we want to see is it nice and flat. We don't want to see this. We don't want to see this little ridge right here or little bend and then it comes back out. But unfortunately with how the blades wear, we kind of have to go with it. But we try to work this as much, try to smooth that out as much as possible and make sure that we get that nice edge right there. So you can see right here we got the edge. It is there, but it doesn't look nice and uniform as the rest of the blade. So it's just one of those unfortunate things where you gotta try to do the best you can, but you also want to make the blade last as long as possible. So just constantly going back and forth to try and fix that isn't worth the blade long term. Now what you do want to make sure though is making sure it's balanced. So we'll set you there. Now what we're trying to do is we want to make sure it's nice and balanced. So you can see it has a little bit of a tilt, but it's not too bad. And then this blade right here, we want to make sure, see it's got a bit of a lean right there, so we got to always double check, reset it, make sure it's not just the wind. So it does have a little bit of a lean still, but basically what we're trying to do is make sure that each side is even, each side is the correct weight, so that way one side while it's spinning isn't going da 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 da, because that's gonna isn't going da 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 on one side or the other. It's because we want to be able to make sure the mower spindle lasts as long as that can last as well. This blade right here, this is an older style blade. You can see we've used it quite a lot. Now you see how it's really starting to wear down here, but with this particular blade, because it's so thin, we usually use this on like a 36 or something. And so what we do is just get it as clean as possible on the edge, and usually only gets used for 1 week, or it goes on one of the older mowers and it works out fine. So it still cuts, but not ideal, but it will work. Now one thing to notice here is this right here, the wing. This is very important because that helps the grass lift up while you're mowing over it under the deck. And so as long as you have at least 70% of this wing still, it will work. So this, not ideal, but as long as this piece right here, obviously it's already detached, but as long as that's not gone when you take the blade off, it's still useful, it will still work. Not ideal, but it will work. So usually as soon as this piece right here falls off, as soon as that's gone, so that piece right there, as soon as that's gone, then this blade is scrapped basically. But usually as long as your blade looks like this, even if it has like a little hole somewhere, it's still gonna work. So that's kind of what we're looking for in long-term blade usage. So, and also it depends on like certain sets of blades you want to use for like if it's been a dry period, like the older blades like this we're going to use because it's going to be sandy, it's going to wear more, and so that way we're not beating up on nice fairly new blades on sand. Now if it's been raining, we're going to take the brand new blades, nice and sharp with the majority of the wing, majority of the surface correct. And we're going to use that because it's going to have the best cutting power with it being wet. So that's very, very important. And if you can't tell, it is warm out here and I'm in the shade. It's very warm today. But anyways, that's kind of what we're looking for when we're doing blades, how we're doing blades. We might have in the next video this thing. I wonder what we could possibly do with this in the next video. We'll have to find out. Alright guys, so you might remember our trash pickup grinder. And so we've got ourselves it working very nicely. So check out this very nice clean blade. This blade, super clean. Nice pun there, right? It's super clean. Actually, it's a very nice, clean, sharpened blade. Looks really, really good. So this thing's doing really nice. I really do like it. And you can just see how shiny it is, hopefully on the camera. I can see how shiny it is. Hopefully it's showing up for you guys. But it's a very nice, sharp edge on the blade. So we already done some and they're coming out really nice, as I said earlier. So what we're looking for is it to be nice and clean, because if it's nice and clean like this, the grass isn't going to tear, because we want the grass to cut as cleanly as possible. Also, we want the blade to be able to make sure that the grass is discharging so we're not getting clogged. So nice clean edge on there, looks really good. So we're going to time lapse the rest of the blades and hopefully we're not going to tear up the lens too much. So let's get started. this worked out really good. Definitely very nice piece of equipment, and definitely happy with how it worked. That worked pretty good, and definitely a little bit more controlled on how far everything's going and flying around, so that was kind of nice. We have another one that was just all of the sparks went just straight flying backwards, and there's just not really a good place to go, whereas this is more controlled just straight down, so a little bit less of a fire hazard, but still nice piece of equipment, and definitely liked how it works. So take a look here. So we got a nice new shiny blade. You see how nice and shiny those are. Get those together. These things, we have a little nick that usually gets taken out of the blade. So what normally happens is we just try to get as much of this sharpened as possible. Try not to wear the blade down, just trying to get that one spot uniform, because that's just, it's not worth it. But yeah, all these blades came out super nice and sharp, and definitely like how those all came out, and definitely like how this thing worked for sure. So alright guys, so that is it for today. Thanks guys for watching, and we will see you guys here next time on the Combustion Guys. That was a lot of work. I'm gonna go take a shower now. Yeah.